Hello, welcome to Imbalancing the Spectrum. I'm your host, Jose, and today we will be talking about the dating spectrum.
Oh,
So it's not like I've had tons of dating experience, but the dating experience that I have had, well, there were positives and negatives from all aspects. So ever since my first serious relationship, or what I consider to be my first serious relationship, was a distance relationship. That relationship is the one that kickstarted the process of self discovery. And I am grateful for that relationship, even though it was a distance relationship. And I did meet the guy in person one time for 1 week, but that relationship was kind of a roller coaster. Um, I was invested emotionally for the first time in another person that wasn't family. And before that relationship, yes, I did do the online dating thing, or actually, I don't even know how to rephrase that because online dating is now different from what it used to be. So, online dating, when I started to do that, I was 13 years old ish, and I had no idea what I was doing. And in that moment, I did realize that I was attracted to both men and women. And I would tell people I would meet online that I was bi curious. And my first dating experience was through this site called Gaia. If you know it, you know what Gaia was like. It was wild. So you created your own little anime avatars, and you would go and talk to people. You would use your avatar to walk around, go to different places, and basically just meet different avatars. Most of the time, you would not actually see what the other person was actually like, what they physically look like. So that's where I would first start dipping my toe into the dating pool, kinda, because in real life I kept myself in a bubble for a long time. Well, I was kept in a bubble, and I just didn't pop that bubble. Um, so in Gaia, for the longest time, I used it, and it was kind of liberating. That's what the Gaia experience was for me. It was liberating. I could be myself without the worries of what will my family think. Um, so on Gaia, you would have like on and off relationships with people, or that's what my experience was through Gaia. Years later, um, or rather than on and off relationships, they were shooting star relationships. And I've never used that term, but I'll explain it in the way that I mean. a shooting star, you see it go by and it flashes before your eyes one instant. It's there, the next is not. That's what I mean. It was a quick flare and then it wasn't. But the Gaia experience, as liberating as it was, made me feel a little bit closer to who I was. I was still discovering myself. Then came a site um, called Meet Me, and I don't know if it's still around or not, but if it is, it's probably not the same as it was back then. Back then, it was like a MySpace profile. You could add music, pictures to your profile. You could add YouTube videos, an introductory video. It was it was a cool place. You could add your background, change your background, customize your background for it to be animated. Anyway, not talking about the site itself, but in Meet Me, I started talking more with guys around my age. So that was from 14 to 16 years old. I used that site, and between those 2 years, um, I would have what I thought were supposed to be relationships, distance relationships, because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. And it was very similar to Gaia. It was like an instantaneous relationship. You would have it one moment and the next you wouldn't. So it was very hi, nice to meet you. I want to get to know you. Let's be boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, you would be like, okay, we're done. We're not going anywhere with this. And in that site was my first experience actually exchanging numbers with people and actually physically seeing what they look like. So that was something different for me. And then I went into another site from 15 to 16 years old. So I came out at 16. Um, and I was using this site. It's called, I think it was called Tagged. So Tagged was a pretty cool place to meet people. And again, it was by distance. I didn't really go out my teenage years at all. So all I had was my computer. And in this site is where I met what I consider to be my first serious relationship. And well, when I came out, I was talking to somebody else. And actually, I was so naive in that age that I didn't realize that the guy I met, the guy that I was talking to, the site that we met on was used for hookups. I did not realize that. So, real quick, this guy I met, I was 16 years old, and he was 19 on his profile. So I was like, 3 years, not that big of a difference. He's still around my age. It's all cool. And he's the one that said that he wanted to meet. And this was in my town. So we had been talking for a while, and he called me his boyfriend. And again, very naive during that time. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong. And when it came to dating, especially dating men, and I remember that New Year's Eve, um, I believe it was 2010 New Year's Eve going into 2011. And he said that he wasn't doing anything and that he could come by for a midnight kiss. What do? I agree. It was actually a fantasy of mine to have a New Year's kiss. And this is my 16-year-old self being like, yes, that's exactly what I want. So we're having a party with family. We're at my home, my house, and um, as everybody is arriving, I sneak out and go meet him. He picked me up at the corner of the alley because I went, snuck out from the alley, and he picked me up. I remember it was a red car, and when we met, like, first thing I felt was excited, but very nervous, and it felt like I had butterflies in my stomach. And I was taught that feeling butterflies was a good sign when it came to a relationship. It wasn't till later, much, much, much later, that I found out having butterflies when you're meeting somebody actually means that your gut is telling you something is wrong. That's your red flag meter. It's telling you something's wrong. Don't do it. Don't get close to that person. They're not good for you. So, um, he asked me. Uh, well, he didn't ask me. He told me. He said, "So you were telling me, through chat that you were gonna kiss me and you were gonna embrace me. So what's going on? Why aren't you doing it?" I gave him a hug, and he he drives a block away, and he parks in the street. Mind you, this is a an area with people around having parties, so everybody was inside. And when he parked the car, he sat there and asked me, "So when are you gonna do it?" And I was like, "Do what?" "Well, you said you were gonna kiss me, or were you just lying?" And yeah, I had said that, but to be fair, he's the one that brought it up. So I had no realization of what a true relationship was and what it was supposed to be. From what I saw was, um, through TV and through real live relationships of other people, they kiss and they're official. Like they're officially boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. So I said, okay, yeah, and I gave him a kiss, and he said, hop on the back. I had no idea why, or what he meant. That's how naive I was. I was 16 years old, and I was that naive. I was so entrapped in my bubble that I didn't realize what was going on. So I slipped to the back seat, and he also comes back, and he's like, "This way, we're more comfortable, and we don't have something dividing us." Which I agreed. I was like, "Yeah." So, long story short, this was supposed to be a short story. Um, he takes advantage of me, and in my mind, um, this was okay. This is what people in relationships do. Again, my 16-year-old mind thought that. It wasn't fully consensual, but because I thought that that's what you were supposed to do in a relationship, that's what it was. And, well, basically, he takes me back home, and I asked him, aren't we gonna hang out some more? And he's like, no, I have someplace to be. I was like, okay, well, I'll text you. So I come home through the back, and um, I remember my dad being angry. He was upset. He was telling me, everybody's looking for you. Where did you go? Where were you? And I was like, I was just um, back in the garage, back in the garage, or in my room. I can't remember which one I said, in my room or the garage. But he was like, okay, it's just because your family's here and you need to go greet them. Like that was a rule. When someone steps into the household, you, as the person who lives there, has to greet them. I've noticed throughout my life that this is not considered normal to do in a lot of households, but in mine, it was obligational. Let me take a little sip of water. Hold on. All right. So, the next night, well, actually, no, not the next night. The 2nd of January, 2011, I come out to my parents because I wanted to tell them I have a boyfriend. In my mind, he was my boyfriend. He said he was, so must have been true. So I come out to them. My mom disowns me. My dad accepts me. And um, a couple times I did go out with him. He came for me. And every time, again, I didn't realize this. It had to do with sexual encounters. And in my mind, I was like, this is what a relationship must be like. Um, so one day, I come back, he drops me off in front of my house, and my dad's outside. I do get nervous because I don't know how he's going to react to physically seeing me with a guy. And he tells me, "Is that your boyfriend?" I go, "Yeah." And I could see that he was starting to get flustered. But in my mind, it was for the wrong reason. In reality, he was getting flustered because he recognized him. He told me that uh, his name was so and so and he was 22 years old. I said, "No, he's not 22, he's 19." And he tells me, "No, he's 22. My dad was a security guard at a bar." And he told me, "I encounter him every weekend at the bar. He goes there quite often. He's 22. I don't know what to say." And um, turns out he was right. And that's when my my reality check came in. It was like, okay, people lie. And not that people haven't lied to me before that point. It was just in a relationship. Like, okay, people lie in relationships. And now I see that not just romantic relationships, but family friendships, um, friendships, any type of relationship, people lie to you. And you have to know how to distinguish these differences. You have to listen to that little voice telling you that person's wrong for you. That gut feeling, listen to it. So, after a while, me and him stopped talking. I confronted him about it and he just blocked me. Okay, cool. That was fine. So, I'm using Tagged, the site I was talking about earlier, and I see this profile that I feel very attracted to, and um, he actually confessed to me later on when we were actually together that he was not going to match with me. This was the first matching site that I was on. Probably the first one that existed, to be honest. Tinder didn't exist yet. So I meet this guy and I send the first message. And we start talking and we start vibing, and um it turns into a friendship that 2 months later, so I met him in January, and March, yeah, in March 19th or 19th of March, we call it official. This is still the year 2011. And he knew about the circumstances that I was living in, meaning my mom and me, how she disowned me, and all the things that she was doing to me, like trying to kick me out multiple times, uh, taking my door away, taking my laptop and my phone away because she knew that I was talking to somebody and she didn't want me talking to that somebody because she thought that's what was making me gay. My laptop and my computer, in her irrational mind, the way she rationalized it was technology is making you gay. Anyway, with this guy, I'm with him from 2011 all the way to New Year's Eve in 2013. And um, between those years, so he cheated on me more than once, and I forgave him. And I shouldn't have, but he was the first person I genuinely and unconditionally loved romantically. And even though it was at a distance, those feelings were true to me. He said they were true to him, but um I don't know, maybe he was polyamorous. Uh and some people do use polyamory as an excuse to cheat, but back then polyamory wasn't even uh brought up so much. It was taboo, it was over stigmatized. And I'm not saying you can't be polyamorous. You can. I definitely believe that polyamory is a real experience that a lot of people partake in, and that a lot of people are feel ashamed to admit that they can feel. Um, but in this situation, don't know if he was polyamorous or not, but I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2011 June. For Pride, he went out, and I knew his schedule: work, home, and I knew how long it took him to get home because we spoke every single day. That's the thing that made me so genuinely in love with him. The fact that we had conversation and we could talk about anything. The conversation topics were endless. But for Pride, he goes out, and I was okay with him going out to party. I've never been the jealous type. I met him as a party person, and I accepted him as a party person. That's not what bothered me. So I this was back when Facebook was still in its toddler phase, and it was becoming more popular. So I start seeing that this guy is commenting and hitting like on every single one of the pictures that he had ever posted. And the comments are the ones that kind of drove me to be suspicious. So they were like hard eyes, hugs, kisses, and I was like, okay, something's going on here. So I was still, excuse me, I need some more water. Getting a tickle in my throat. So I was still 16, and actually by June, uh, I would have been 17. So I had just turned 17, and I add this person, and he accepts me, and we start talking, and it's normal talk like, hey, how are you doing? How's your day? And then I kind of build up a trust with him, and then I let the bomb drop. I'm like, how do you know my friend so and so? And he said, oh, well, we're actually boyfriends. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, that's great for you. And I text my ex, and he calls me right away and apologizes to me, said that he was drunk, he didn't know what he was doing. And I'm like, but you're still together. And he said, no, like it was just a one night thing. It never happened again. Uh, I forgave him, get back with him, and basically it was never over at that point. Months pass by, I start feeling him pull away again, and I tell him, something's going on, something you're not telling me. He goes, no, nothing's going on. And, well, I forgot how I found out, but he was going out with the same guy again. Okay, so I forgave him afterwards. We took a break, and I actually met this sweet, sweet guy. Um, May he rest in peace. So every weekend, he would come over to my house and we would hang out, we would talk, we'd just have fun, like healthy fun with each other. And he would sleep over, but nothing necessarily happened. And then he was becoming emotionally attached to me, and I was to him as well. But out of nowhere, my ex texted me and said, I miss you. And he was crying and this and that. He gave me the whole uh, cheater monologue. The cheater monologue. Please take me back. I'll never do it again. Blah, blah, blah. I don't deserve you. And oh man, for the love of me. I believed him, and I told this sweet guy we need to stop seeing each other because I still have feelings for my ex, and I don't want to hurt you. Basically, telling him I don't want to make you think that I am interested when I'm actually emotionally invested in someone else. And this sweet guy tells me, well, he's at a distance and I'm here. You could still have your distance relationship, but I'm here. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna hurt either one of you. And from then on, we took a long time without talking. Uh, Later, I found out. This is much later. I found out that he was in a dark place, and we talked about it. And he said to me, and it made me feel bad at the time, but I didn't make his choices for him. He hung around peer pressuring people, and he said that because I broke his heart, he strayed away from the path that he wanted to be on. But I couldn't control that. I could only control my own emotions, my own feelings, my own actions. That's what I could control. I can't control somebody's reactions to something that I said. But anyway, with this almost 3 year on and off relationship with my ex, um, things were getting serious. He came, visited me in my town, um, and he stayed a week. Unfortunately, the first night that he stayed, or it was the second night that he stayed with me, um, we got jumped, unfortunately. I had the habit, and you may think this is stupid, but because of my insomnia, I would have the habit of going out for a walk at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning if I couldn't sleep. And nothing ever bad happened to me. I was always weary of cars, careful of cars, careful of other people walking. I always had something in my hand that I could protect myself with if needed. But unfortunately, that night that we took a walk, we got jumped. It was fated for us to be in harm's way. And, well, I'm trying to shorten the story. So, um, I was in the hospital that week because my my cheek was getting infected where they kept on kicking me. I was lucky to not have my jaw fractured or any fractures because they kicked me pretty bad in the ribs and my clavicle. So, because it got infected, went to the hospital, and he never left my side. And my dad trusted him enough. Like, that's how good of a person he is. As a person, he's a good person. And to earn my dad's trust is the most difficult thing anybody could do. And, well, he earned it. And um, he left me with him, with my ex in the hospital room where my dad would never leave my side. Um, so, anyway, just because he's a good person does not make him a good boyfriend. And I'm not talking shit. I don't know is if he has learned from his lessons or not, but um the other reason that he didn't leave my side was because he didn't know how they were going to treat me because we told them what had happened. Um we reported it to the police, but they didn't believe us because they they said that it was a lover's quarrel. So they blamed us for having bruises and hits and cuts in on our bodies. But that's just because the officers were dicks. That's just it. Um anyway, this wasn't supposed to be about my dating uh, cover cover letter, or not cover letter, my dating resume. It wasn't supposed to be that. So anyway, forward winding to December 31st, 2013. For months now, I had been feeling that same feeling that he was pulling away, distancing himself, and I had talked to him about it before, and he said, no, nothing's going on. I'm being truthful. I'm just being overworked. And there was this nagging feeling. And um, on New Year's Eve, on my way to a gathering with my dad and family friends, I'm texting on my way there, telling him I've been feeling this way for a while now, and it does not feel correct to me. So I think that it is best to end the relationship. And I remember him texting me back and even calling me and crying. I was crying because I loved him. Um, and I couldn't face the fact that he would do this again. But I did tell myself he's done it in the past, he would do it again. And the reason I cut off, otherwise I probably wouldn't have. The reason I cut off the relationship was because we already had plans. We were pre engaged. I don't know if you've heard of promise rings, but it was very much like that. And um, we had plans to have him move to my town, move to my city, and get jobs. He was already working on submitting his resume to different places. He actually found some where he had experience at, and uh, we had like a long term plan. The rest of our life was being planned out, but that's not what scared me. What scared me was the fact that he was adding other guys that I knew were gay, and I knew that they were very hoish. And I'm not slut shaming, I'm not hoe shaming, but I knew who they were and I knew what they liked to do. And they didn't care whether the person had boyfriends or not. I actually had one person in my town confront me because of my ex. And I just blew him off. I was like, I'm not even with him anymore. He was more upset that he wasn't coming to the city anymore. That's what he was upset about. Anyway, um, life goes on. And ever since him, for 4 years, so that would be 2013 to 2017, uh, I was single and I wasn't really looking for a romantic relationship. And I focused during that time exploring my sexual side. But um, I do remember that 2 years later, or it was a year later, I don't know, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, he messaged me back and saying that he needed me, he loved me, he couldn't stop thinking about me. And I considered forgiving him and getting back with him. But I was like, nope, nope, that's not gonna happen. And a couple years passed by. I believe it was in 2017. In 2017, I was dating, well, not dating. I only went out with him a couple times. But all he wanted was sex when he led me to believe he wanted a relationship. And, um, well, obviously, I cut that relationship off. But in 2017, my ex, um, the 2017 relationship, I don't consider a relationship. It was only 3 weeks. So I was just going out with him, getting to know him. So my ex messages me and tells me, he asked me if I could do a reading for him. So, oh, I do tarot readings, energy readings, and I work with energy. Uh, so my ex hit me up asking for a tarot reading, and I told him like you're with this person and they're cheating on you, and he's doing a lot of things behind your back. Uh, he's dabbling in your economy, and he didn't believe the economy part, but later on he found out that it was true. He was using his money for certain things. But he did tell me that it was karma for everything that he did to me. And they were married by then. And um, so what happened was, and he did this 2 other times, asking me for readings. So the last time he was telling me he was getting a divorce, so he married the guy, and he found out that he was cheating, and that basically the same story repeated itself. And um he kind of outed himself. So he told me that he couldn't believe that he invested so much of his life into that relationship since 2013. Now, I didn't say anything, I didn't get angry at him. I just skipped over the comment. It wasn't about me, it was about him and how he was feeling betrayed. I wasn't gonna make him feel worse by reminding him I broke up with you 31st of December 2013. So when did you have time to meet him? I wasn't gonna do that. Which he told me he met him at a party. So it's yeah. Um anyway, I think I forward winded a bit. So going back a little bit, back to 2015. So I was seeing well, I met this guy on Grinder, and he had roommates. So, Grinder used to be like an actual dating app or to meet people and become friends with them. So, I meet this guy and he had roommates and I become closer to his roommates than I did with him. Uh, I don't know what it was about him exactly. I just remember him being very critical. And mind you, he was older than everybody else, including me. So at the time, I think I was like 22, maybe 21, 22. And he was like in his early to mid 30s. And all his roommates were um, gay guys that were in their late teens. So he was basically a house father to these kids. Maybe because they were closer to my age, I felt more connected with them, apart from him being overcritical. So there comes a time where the kids in the same complex get their own room because they can't deal with their house father anymore. And um I get close to one of them. He was very nice, very sweet, and we were seeing each other. We weren't in a relationship, but we were seeing each other, getting to know each other. And in my mind, it was mostly as friends. And um, so I don't remember how long that lasted, that friendship lasted, but it was a while. He would come over to my house. I would go over to their apartment, chill, play games, etc. And um, it wasn't until one night that um, he decided to make dinner for me. And I was like, okay. Um, mind you, he was a little baby gay. So his definition of making me dinner was making me macaroni and cheese out of a box, which I didn't mind. Food is food, and I appreciated that um, motion, that action from his part. And plus, nobody had ever made me food uh, like that before. And as he's making this macaroni and cheese, uh, he told me to wait in the room, but I go and check up on him because if I felt awkward being in somebody else's room alone, I don't know, it was just awkward. And I go to him while he's cooking, and me in that time, I couldn't control my empathic abilities. So I am a natural empath and I'm able to feel other people's energies, feelings, and emotions. So as he's mixing the macaroni, I get this surge from him, and uh, it felt like that feeling you get that you're spinning out of control and into love. So he was falling in love for me. And I didn't know, it felt awkward to me. I was like, hey, we need to talk. We need to talk. And I told him, he already knew about me feeling other people's feelings. But I told him, so I felt this surge of love coming from you towards me. And um, he interrupted me and he's like, yeah, that's how I feel about you. I'm falling in love with you. Well, I don't remember him using the words I'm falling in love with you, but I have strong emotions for you. And I told him, I don't want to hurt you, so I'm not able to reciprocate those emotions. And maybe it's better to be friends. I'd rather be friends than to hurt you. And this actually comes from my trauma of being in that almost 3 year relationship, distance relationship, and giving my all and ending up not receiving much or as much as I put in because I did receive something. So for a while, I pushed people away because I was afraid to get hurt again. And the people that I was pushing away were good people. They were good guys. And now I look back and I'm like, well, if I had given them a chance, I would have known um, a lot about myself sooner. But everything happens for a reason. And I do believe that we are given opportunities to choose which way we want to go, how we want our existence, our timeline to look like. So if I would have accepted his feelings in that moment, we probably would have had a relationship. Who knows how long it would have lasted or if it would still be ongoing. Um, but you choose what you feel is right for you in that moment. In that moment, I did not feel ready to love again, and more so to trust that the other person loved me. So, in between him and the 2017 guy, I meet other people and um, we go on dates, we hang out, and yeah, had some fun here and there, but nothing serious ever happened between those 2 years. Um, and I feel like, in my experience, I rejected the people that I did because I was afraid to hurt them more so than I was afraid of being hurt again. I was more concerned with other people's feelings at the time, and it didn't help that I actually felt their feelings. So, for a while, I rejected people, and that's the reason why I don't have that much dating experience. But afterwards, I still using Grinder. I have used other dating apps, but Uh, Grinder seems to be the only app that has allowed me to meet people in my area. And the people that I have met, um, there are a few. I can count them in my hand, in one hand. Um, I've met them on there and made friendships with them that now I don't have a relationship with those people, but in its moment, they were good friendships, not sexual transactions. And that's what Grinder is mostly used for now. So transformed from a dating app when it first began to meeting people, making potential friendships, to now hooking up. People always hooked up on Grinder, but now it's just like a common thing. I still use it, but it is rare for me to find a person on Grinder that I could connect with on an emotional and spiritual level. And yeah, well, when it comes to Grinder, Grinder is a trip, man. So the funniest thing happened. The funniest and the most stupidest thing happened to me on Grinder the other day. I actually have screenshots of that uh, conversation. And looking back, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have replied to this person. And I actually wasn't going to when it started getting weirder and weirder. But something just attracted me to reply. Usually stupid comments on Grinder. Um, I ignore. I don't reply. That's what my block button does. That's what it's for. I ignore them. They have no say in what I should or should not do, or whatever it is. Grinder is a trip. Look up Grinder stories. Look up Grinder stories, and you'll be amazed at how wild and stupid this application is. And I still use it. So I'm the stupid one. No, but the reason that I still use it is because I actually don't go out like at all. And I'm not ergophobic or anything. It's just I don't go out. Um so anyway, this conversation, I'm actually going to read it to you word for word so you know what I was dealing with. But before I do that, if you don't know Grinder, I'm gonna give you the rundown. The rundown on how wild Grinder is. So you'll find a little bit of everything in this application. There will be straight guys saying they're straight, but they want sex with men. And as a society, we have a lot of progress to make to understand what sexual orientation, romantic orientation are not that they are not the same. That they are not the same. Romantic orientation is your attraction towards a person that you want to build a relationship with, a romantic relationship with. Sexual orientation is your sexual attraction. So you could be straight and you could be into guys and women, and you could be straight and be sexually attractive only to men. So that's why it's so stigmatized. So you'll find that, and a lot of the times you'll find guys that say mask for mask. So what that means is masculine for masculine, and they have their unique definition of what masculine means. It could mean masculine features, masculine acting, masculine appearance. Um, it's wild, and you'll have guys that say I'm only attracted to femme guys, femme, CS, and trans, and these people are attracted to more feminine qualities. And I've actually asked a couple guys that what is their definition of a feminine guy, because me, I'm both feminine and masculine, and a lot of the times they'll define femme as a guy who looks like a woman, or a guy who dresses in women clothing. No facial hair. That's a big one that I've encountered. So it just depends on the person. And again, respect everybody's preferences. Just when it comes to these people, a lot of the times they will discriminate. Don't be discriminative. Don't do that. Um, you'll find profiles that say, well, before that, you'll find profiles that are bots and they're trying to get you to click on their link, or they'll send you emails to click on their link to get your information. You'll find that, but you'll also find people who are um, quote unquote massage therapists, and that basically what their description says is, I can give you a massage, I can get rid of your stress and give you a happy ending. And to me, it's a type of prostitution, even though it is a career. Massage therapy is a career. When you add, I'll give you a happy ending, you're doing the same thing that a hooker does in um in the streets, but you're not putting in as much work as they would. You're not getting dirty. You massage them, give them a happy ending, clean them up. So to me, it's the same thing. Like, yeah. And when it comes to different types of profiles, most profiles, in my experience, don't have profile pictures. And you will see in their bio that they will not share pictures unless you share pictures with them. I've had people ask for pictures And I'm like, well, my picture's in my profile. And they're like, no, not those type of pictures. They're referring to nudes. And it's very cringe. Like, okay, I don't know what you look like, and you expect me to send nude pictures of me, and you won't share any type of picture, whether it be your head, your torso. You see a lot of torsos on Grinder. It's ridiculous. Um, but yeah, you won't give me any type of picture to get an idea what you look like. Unless I send you a nude, it's mind blowing to me. It's stupid. And yeah, well, there's a little bit of everything. There's people wanting to get drugged out, which is very common in the LGBT community. But I'm not saying it's right. They have their own things to go through, to heal through. Um, and I would want to say that if you are doing drugs, well, just be aware of the reason why you do it. That will help you along the way. But yeah, um, guys who say they only date trans women or have sexual encounters with trans women, you'll see those profiles and they'll be very explicit about it. Some of them have what they call dick fetishes. So they want a trans woman, but with their biological genitals. And at that point, I'm still trying to understand it. Um, it doesn't make sense to me entirely, but I did watch a show that explains it a little bit. And there's this guy dating a trans woman who wants to have her bottom operation done, and he gets mad at her for that because it would make him feel um, less in power, or at least that's what the situation was in this show. But when it comes to mask for mask people, or specifically mask for femme people that are looking for feminine qualities, uh, I don't know what they might be thinking. I don't know how their attraction works, but it's very much a situation where they want to feel like they're either dating or having sex with a woman, and feel like they're the guy. So, a lot of mask for my sorry, mask for mask guys that I've encountered in the past are now, their profile now says mask for femme only, and at that point, it it's ridiculous. And the most ridiculous thing that I've seen on Grinder is profiles that say I'm not gay, I'm not bi. I'm just here to see what's up. I want to see what the fuss is about. And at that point, you're not being honest with yourself. If you're on Grinder and you're a man and you consider yourself a straight man, there has to be some sort of sexual attraction towards guys. It's not like there is no attraction. You already know there is. Just be honest with yourself and with the ones that you contact with. Otherwise, your situation is very much.
Have you ever been walking down the street with your best bro, and while you're walking, you accidentally touch hands? You think to yourself, that was weird, but I'm not gay. You are. You are gay.
Well, I know I said that would be the most ridiculous thing. No, it's not. In my experience, the most ridiculous thing that I've experienced is I was supposed to meet this guy. He came, picked me up, and um, at the time I was struggling with appetite, so I was super skinny and I was like skeletal skinny. And um, he picked me up, and well, first, his profile picture, it was very sensual, and he was a redhead, and I love redheads, I do. Um, but he picked me up, and it was cold out, and I'm very sensitive to cold. It affects my bones, so sometimes I put two jackets on or two sweaters on. That time, I put two sweaters on, picks me up. I uh get in his car. And we're gonna go back to his place, and um, when he drives around the block, because my street is a one way, so we had to turn around to go to his place, and he starts driving slowly, looks at me up and down, and he says, "You know what? This isn't gonna work for me. Uh, you don't look anything like your pictures." I guess he assumed that I was fat, and I was like, "Okay, it's fine, whatever." When he dropped me off, well, I had already noticed, but it wasn't a big deal for me. But when he dropped me off in front of my house, he takes his cap off, and he's completely bald. And I'm thinking to myself, because he told me, "You don't look anything like your profile pictures." And I'm thinking to myself, the way doesn't even look like his profile pictures with his hat, with his cap on. Um, it looks completely different. And especially with the light on, once I got off, I'm like, yeah, he looks completely different. And I could have said something, but I was just like, whatever, it's fine. Go do your thing, whatever makes you happy. I have no problem on not going with you. If you're the type of person that's going to judge somebody based on their looks, um, especially when you haven't even opened the, or better expression, when you haven't even unwrapped the gift yet, like, it doesn't make sense to me. It, So I blocked him and um, went about my night as I would. I don't really have like a routine, but whatever I was doing before, that's what I continued doing. But anyway, been talking for a while, and I haven't even talked to you guys about this crazy conversation I had. So let me read it to you. So it is a bit long, but I'm gonna try to read it as fast as I can. So this guy messages me, and the thing about Grindr, you choose whether to show the distance between you and the person or not. And he had his distance on, and it was 5,030 feet away, so almost a mile. He goes, "Hey, I'm Chris. I've seen you around somewhere, but can't place it. I'm in Park Ferry Center. Where be you?" So there's this place called Valley Center, um, near the town that I live, and this is what I replied: Valley Center, never been. And he goes, Park Pawnee Broadway. And I say, probably seen me at Walmart? Maybe. Can't. No, no, no. Front porch house with stairs over close to my old house around Santa Fe Street, I think. And this message confused me, so I was like, what? No. You said hello to me as I came out of someone's house, or no, as I came out from moving van, or something, a really tall deck, and you were sitting on it with one pretty smile in your face, like nothing gonna cut you down today. I loved it. I'm pretty sure it was you, almost guarantee. No, don't think so. Well, I could be getting old. If I am, I apologize. Wasn't me. I haven't been down Santa Fe in a long time. It was Santa Fe. It was one close to it, though. I thought, well, this is me. Hold on. Let me reread that. He said, it wasn't Santa Fe. It was one close to it, though. I thought. I replied, well, that area I haven't been to in a while. I stay closer to Broadway and another intersection I'm not going to say unless I go to Walmart. Then he says, and too bad, 'cause that was a proud, beautiful smile of Lil Lonely, but content. And it was good enough to be put a bit my memory banks for some reason, beauty being probably the one. So his spelling is awful, so that's why I'm struggling a little bit. But he continued, so was you, huh? And now I and now I just told on myself, shit. I'm taking a shower now, can't talk shit. I reply, I really don't think it was me. Okay, that's fair enough. So hey, let's make a little provision and or a little better, shall we? This is where it gets wild. Like truly wild. And I'm not gonna censor any of it. So it can get very explicit. He said, if we meet and I don't recognize you or you me, then I owe you head. That's where you start to have a problem. But if we meet and we have seen and kind of know each other, then you owe me some quality cock sucking. Ugh, ugh. It just gives me the creeps. But that's just a meet and greet idea. Either way, there's gonna be some cum changing gene pools. Ugh, that's so gross. I said, no offense, but that was the longest and stupidest way to deliver a pickup line. He replied, I never once said I was smart or good with words. LOL, I'm 6'5", 200 pounds, with an 11-inch dick that's girthy, and I know how to make you come and come again. And I can fix your car or diesel in the spare time. But smart, nope, not me. If I was smart, I wouldn't be where I am currently. But I do have the biggest heart you will ever meet in person. See, if he would have gone with I have a big heart, would have tried to get to know this person. But no, this is what I replied, and I should have stopped, to be honest. I never said you were stupid. Just your. I never said you were stupid. Just your long-winded way to deliver a pickup line, but simply not interested. Oh, that's okay. I was more thinking friends, but hey, I'm okay with whatever because I've never been in this spot of my life and it's ever changing and I'm going up, baby, not down. I replied, yeah, I don't think friends go, I can make you come again and again and again, but that's just me. You do you. He goes, well, I can fix your shoulder set, your back, and make a woman come almost torturously. I reply, congrats? Question mark. And he says, but I do like to make him memorable and ever racing intensity level till they are just piles of quivering rubber. Then I know I'm good to quit. LOL, for real. But yeah, you're right. You're so close minded and guarded emotions that you couldn't do anything till we got you living yourself. So later, Gator, and I hope you find what you're looking for. I replied. Close minded? Question mark. LMAO. You didn't even read my bio at all, and I'll read to you guys my bio, what it says. So, yeah, I said, you didn't even read my bio at all. You think just because you're you that you are going to get lucky anytime you want. Um so when it comes to being rejected, you deflect your emotions onto others, trying to make them feel small cuz your ego is too big. But hope you have a good day anyway. He replied, ha ha ha. If only you knew, and no, ma'am. I'm getting my info from your language to me. Your bio can say whatever you want, but it's your actions that is what defines us. Much love, and I'll pray for you. And I respect everyone's beliefs or everyone's belief systems and the way they um say things. But the phrase "I'll pray for you" when said in a stingy ignorant way, critical way, judgmental way, it gives me bad vibes. If they say it in a good way, like if you're going through something and they're like, I'll pray for you. Okay, thank you. But if you're defending yourself or standing up for yourself and they go, I'll pray for you, that's when it gives me bad vibes. So I said, I sincerely ask that you not pray for me. Use prayers for your own good, not for what you think will be good for others. For other people have different definitions of what's good for them. I'm only reacting to your words and behavior towards me, going from, and this is in parentheses, going from you look familiar to if we meet and I don't recognize you, I owe you head. Quotations cringe. But if we have seen each other, then you owe me head. Quotations, or yeah, quotations double cringe. And above it all, the disrespectful way you come off is unattractive, but I'm sure you have others that do find your way of talking and behaving attractive. So you have a plethora of opportunities. He replied, That's what it is. No sense of humor. It was a joke, duh. Get over yourself. You ain't God's gift to all the powers above. Sheesh. Love, kindness, and forgiveness, along with faith, will find you full returns. I replied. Really, I should have stopped a long time ago. I replied. There was no joke, no punchline. It wasn't funny to me. The universe created me as a gift to myself and those close to me. That's all that counts. If you truly knew me as a person, you wouldn't be saying that to me. Parentheses. Referring to love, kindness, forgiveness, and faith. Or maybe you would, since I noticed that when people get hurt, mad, or offended, they bring up their own beliefs and values to try to make feel others less than. And this is the end of the conversation. He sends me his location first. And then he says, okay, stop. I'll stop. But it's stop and go. And if I made you feel like that, then I apologize. And yeah, that's one of my downfalls, but I don't know. I love myself. Listen, I'm very free, and if you, and then it stops, like he sent it halfway through his message. So towards the end, he was trying to recuperate himself and still try, or at least that's how it felt. Still tried to convince me to hook up with him. And he has no profile picture, no stats, no anything. And I'm a very picky person when it comes to sex. You have to have your stats, your health stats. Um, a lot of people in the LGBT community are not honest about their health stats, but if you put it out there, I'll at least have questions. And people hate it when you ask questions. I ask questions and then they block me. So he didn't have any of that. And um, it was just very cringy to me. And I had not experienced something exactly like that in the past. I've had guys tell me that I think I'm too good for them, or guys tell me that uh, I'm full of myself and that's why I don't have anybody. When this happened, it was wild to me. And the way I responded, I think I responded quite eloquently, polite, and not rude because I didn't attack him as a person. Um, Whereas he did, he attacked me when I told him about having a big ego and trying to make other people small. I was trying to explain that when you lash out at someone in the manner that he did, is because their ego is big and they try to make uh, other people feel bad, and that's not going to work with me. I've dealt with gaslighting and I'm not going to deal with it again. I am not allowing that energy in my space. But yeah, that was a wild experience. And so you guys know what my bio actually says. Let me pull it up real quick. So it says most likely not looking on Grindr, and I don't know if other applications use this term, but when you say looking or not looking, you're referring to sex. So, most likely not looking, but would like to make new friends, connections, and possibly dates. But shoot your shot either way, you never know. When I say shoot your shot, I do mean like, okay, if you find yourself sexually attracted to me, go ahead and flirt with me and um, have a little bit of chemistry. That's important to me when it comes to sex. If there is no chemistry, it is not pleasurable. And I know this was supposed to be about a dating spectrum, and I went off in a tangent and all, but like I guess I talked about my experience dating, and that within itself has been a spectrum because they have been completely different personalities, completely ways of approaching a relationship, and unfortunately, I wasn't ready at the time after my ex. Um, and I rejected most of them. And I haven't had an official relationship, a serious relationship, ever since my ex. I've gone on I've gone on dates, but nothing serious. Um, I've also met a couple guys that I could have been serious about, but unfortunately, life had other plans. Um, I met this really cute guy back in, I think it was 2018. It could have been before that, maybe. Can't remember. But he was cute, he was nice, he was polite. We connected as people, and we went on a couple of dates. And when we both started talking about maybe the possibility of getting serious. Um, he tells me that he was going to go to nursing school and get a change of career. And I totally supported that. But in order for him to do that for himself, he had to move away. And um like now I'm I'm proud of the person that he has become as a person, not career wise, not money wise, not anything uh materialistic, just as a person. He's come a long way from the person that he was before, even though sometimes he doesn't realize it himself. And yeah, I do still have some contact with him, but it's very seldom. Um, and that has happened a couple times in my life. And if it's not meant to be, well, it's not meant to be. Um, a lot of guys that have met that want to go on dates, they accept me as I am, at least as a first impression. Their first impression of me, they accept me. They know that I have health issues, um, and they know certain uh, obstacles that I have to face, such as not driving, not getting around so easily. Uh, they accept that and they'll go. Uh, what would be the right phrase? They will take the extra step to meet you halfway or to meet me halfway, and they'll come pick me up. We'll go on dates. Um, but for one reason or another, it doesn't work out. But at least they gave me a chance, you know. When I wanted to date women, they wanted to be driven around, which I couldn't do and I can't do. They wanted um not to worry about my health. Some women called me out on my health and I was like, okay, it doesn't have to get ugly, just say not interested. But when it comes to women, I've had maybe one, I want to say 95% of women that I've interacted with in an attempt to court them, um, point out my flaws. And the flaws that they point out, right out of the gate, I don't even get to know them. Right out of the gate, they point out my health. They point out the fact that I can drive. They point out that I live with family. I don't see anything wrong living with family. Plus, if I do get sick, I know my family looks out for me. Uh, I try not to depend on them heavily because sometimes I do feel like a burden, even though I know they don't see me as a burden. And it probably comes from so much rejection due to my health issues. And it really has just been women who do that. Um just the one guy that called me out for it is the 2017 guy. And after him, I did go into a depression, but that depression helped me wake myself up and see my self worth and love myself. So, shouts out, you did me a favor. You made me realize that I had to love myself before loving somebody else. And that's been the only guy that actually has called me out for my health or not being able to drive, which he couldn't drive either. We would walk to meet each other. Um, but yeah, when women rejected me so many times sexually, I was turned off by women. Um, up until this day, I know that I admire them. I love them. I love the way they look. Uh, but I'm turned off by them, even though that they haven't. If they're strangers and I don't know them, I don't feel any sexual attraction towards women. And that's something I myself have to work on. Um, to release that trauma, to let go of that trauma because it is a trauma being rejected so many times throughout my life, ever since childhood up until my early 20s. I was rejected by women constantly, and if I do work through that, I'm pretty sure that sexual attraction will return. As for the emotional attraction, it's there. If somebody, if a woman wants to give me a chance, I'll gladly go for it and try it. Even though it may lead me to rejection down the line. Maybe they don't accept me as I am fully, and they cut off a potential relationship. So I know that if I work with myself, within myself, I'll figure it out. There's a lot I still have to work through. As for guys, yes, there are guys that are assholes, but simply I don't deal with them. Um, they accept me for my health conditions and for who I am and for the obstacles that I face, but they become assholes because they expect something that I am not entirely, or something more than what I put forward. And sometimes it's something negative, or most of the times, not sometimes, most of the time, it's negative, such as drugs. No, I won't have an addicted relationship or an addicted boyfriend because it will become a toxic relationship. I'm not going to do that. And something else that I won't do is if you have family and um, even if it's chosen or blood family, if you have family and you lack that connection, like you take them for granted, that's a red flag for me. I won't do that again. Toxic relationship. Um, what would be something else? Let me think real quick. Um, oh, of course. Uh, I'll give bi curious guys a chance, but if you rope me in romantically and then all of a sudden it's uh actually I never found you attractive. I never was attracted to you, whether it be romantically or sexually or both, then that would be like, okay, what the fuck were we doing that whole time? So that's something that I try to avoid, and that's something that needs to be a conversation beforehand. And it kind of leads me to polyamory. Polyamory. Um, so I know it's still stigmatized, and a lot of people don't find it moral or ethical. But if you have a conversation with your partner and both of you are on the same page, um, then it's all good. It's your relationship. As long as you follow the rules that you guys set for one another in your relationship, or if you're in a throuple, what rules for those relationships. It's all about conversation. Now, if you're in a serious relationship, let's say you've been in a serious relationship for 3, 4 years, and you're during that whole time you've been feeling guilty because you have feelings towards somebody else, but you also have love for your partner. um, that's something that you need to figure out, and you need to learn how to conversate with your partner if you want to act on these feelings, whether it be an open relationship or polyamory or thruples. Uh, thruples or well, yeah, more than three, which personally I'm open to all forms of love. It just has to be in the right environment. If it's not in the right environment, I'm not gonna do it. I haven't had a relationship where someone else wants to be polar in a polar polyamorous relationship or bring in somebody else into the relationship. I've never had that experience, but am I open to it? Yeah, only if the environment is the correct one, and it would be like, let's say they want to bring in somebody into our relationship. I'd be like, okay, who do you have in mind? If you have somebody in mind already, um, or if you don't, let's get to know somebody who'd be open to a throuple. But my process would be going on dates with that third person uh, as a couple at first to get them to know that person as a couple. and then later on, one on ones to see if the chemistry is there as a couple and to see the individual chemistry that we would have with one another. Since I already know the type of chemistry that I would have with my partner, what would be my chemistry with the third person or my partner's chemistry with a third person? I feel like that's a healthy way to go about things. But in general, I'm more traditional, I guess. uh, I believe in monogamy and that two people can have a real relationship as long as there is honesty, um, clarity, and conversation. Always, always have conversation. That's one of the most important things to have. Because if I'm going through something personal and they don't ask me about it, I'll tell them, like, well, I'm going through this or this. And we build a conversation upon that. If there's something going on within their relationship or something that affects the relationship, let's have a conversation and see where we are. And if we're not on the same page, let's try to get to the same or better metaphor. Better metaphor. If we're not in the same paragraph or sentence, let's try to get to the same page. If we're not in the same page, let's at least be reading the same book. That's probably the most important thing. In a relationship, you have to be reading the same book. If you're not, um, your partner may be creating a different perspective of what your relationship is, and you're creating a different um, perspective of what your relationship with your partner is. Therefore, the dynamic can clash and it can become toxic. Not always, but it can. Um, so I'm going on 2 hours, and I feel like I've been telling you more about me than I've been discussing the actual topic that was supposed to take place. Um, right now, my mind is going through all my dating experience, and I'm trying to push that away. Um, only to focus on the topic at hand. Um, so yeah, dating spectrum. The dating spectrum is different for everybody. Everybody has different expectations. Make those expectations clear. What are your green flags? What are your red flags? Start off with that. Um, be honest. Be sincere. Um, don't use harmful intentions in your words. I know that sometimes words can be perceived as harmful, but that's why you conversate, you explain yourself. But if you happen to explain yourself over and over and over again about the same thing, about the same way you use your vocabulary or your sentence structure, specifically talking about conversation, then that means that you are uh two opposite poles. Like, or not two opposite poles. Uh Sorry. Um okay, so let's start with you have a positive pole and a negative pole. Everybody has a positive and negative pole. Just like magnets. Magnets have positive and negative. Um, if you put the positive and the negative, they attract. If you put the two positives or the two negatives together, they will repel each other. So essentially, that's what you would be doing if you have to over explain yourself or if you don't understand what your partner is saying. You're constantly asking them the same question. You're creating uh, two positives or two negative poles that are repelling each other. And I guess that's why they say opposites attract. But when somebody is, let's say, from a scale 0 to 100 on the positive pole, and the other person, again, in the same scale 0 to 100, if you have a positive pole at, let's say, 85, 85% positive pole, and your partner has a 25% positive pole, that is a 60% difference. So there's 60% that you will repel each other either right away or over time, because a relationship is getting to know one another, because you never get to fully know a person. You may think you do, but no, you never dive into their mind to see how they think, how they process information, and but you could try. And these poles can shift. If you're at 85 positive and your partner is at 25 positive, um you can shift them if you actually try to comprehend your partner. Slowly but surely, those poles will be become equalized over time. Not always, but uh, at least when it comes, and it differs from topic to topic. If in one topic you shift together and you attract, your poles attract, that means that topic has been has been sorry, that topic has been resolved. You no longer have to talk about it because you understand each other and you understand each other's point of views. Um, and sometimes it's as simple as respecting the way the other person thinks and agree to disagree and live on your life. Sometimes it's just that easy. You don't have to shift your opinions. You don't have to shift your values or your principles. You don't have to shift that at all. Just agree to disagree. Disagree. It's just simple as that. Although sometimes you can shift your values, your principles, and usually, at least from observation, it's because of two main things. Um, Either you're learning more about yourself and you're growing as a person, because in order to grow as a person, you need to learn. That's the first one. The second one is not quite so positive. You change the way you perceive things, your values, your principles, because you want to make your partner comfortable and happy. And even though those poles attract, it can cause you to become uncomfortable with yourself, unhappy in the relationship. So never conform yourself to somebody else's expectations or ideologies. You are you, they are them. So, yeah, definitely the dating spectrum can be all over the place and it's difficult for everybody, whether you're gay, straight, um, bisexual, whatever your sexuality is or your romantic orientation is, it's difficult. Um, a lot of straight people, and I've seen videos like gays have it easy because they don't have to think about emotions. They don't have to process emotions. They just act on their actions. Most of the time, they're actually referring to sex. So just because we're sexual creatures doesn't mean we don't have emotions. We do. And um, I've heard gay guys say straight people have it easier because it's so difficult to date in the gay dating pool. And yeah, it is difficult, especially when um, you know that in the past, in history, people fought for our rights to express ourselves as we are. And you're taking it for granted when you're not actually committing yourself to a relationship, which is what a lot of people fought for us to for our relationships to be normalized within society. Yeah, there's still some work to be done, but it's more normalized now than it was in the past. Even just 9 years ago. 9 years ago, it was still a little bit taboo. Um, what year are we on? 2024. So 5 years ago would be 2019. In 2019, it became more normalized, but there was still um, a stigma around um, same sex relationships. And it's becoming more normal, more accepting. And even if you don't accept it, you can't change the fact that it exists. And even within your own communities. And then right now, I'm just gonna address the LGBTQ community. Um, so, in our community, dating is difficult because we subdivide ourselves. Like, there could be a muscular guy and a twink, a skinny guy. Um, and they'll be like, oh no, I don't date skinny guys because they don't have any muscle. They're not masculine enough because for them, muscles are masculine. Um, or the other way around. A skinny guy can say, oh yeah, I don't date muscular guys because they're too big and too masculine. They're not gay enough. Like, what the fuck does that even mean, really? um, and yeah, we just subdivide ourselves way too much. And it comes to fetishizing our attributes that make us the person that we are, whether it's being slim, being muscular, being masculine, being feminine, being fluid, uh, body hair. For some reason, that's a thing. Um, and I know it's a preference, but people fetishize it and they're like, oh no, I won't date a guy that doesn't have any body hair or the other way around. So, everything that defines us as a person, if I was to list everything, this would go on and on and on. Um, People tend to subdivide us and it creates friction within our own community. Uh, I've I have not been to a gay bar in 7 years. Damn. Yeah, that's a while. But when I did, I would like to go see the drag shows and dance, drink here and there, and, just get my groove on. But I would notice that a lot of the young gays would segregate from the older gays. And I remember going out to I don't know what it's called, it's not a balcony, the patio. Going out to the patio at the bar, and I went out there to smoke a cigarette. And I remember encountering a couple, and they must have been in their late 40s, early 50s, if not older. I don't remember if I even asked for their age. Um, but we spoke. They told me about their experiences in the past, and honestly, it was very touching to hear their experiences and how they moved forward. And uh, they actually thought that just because I was young that I had it all and I had it easy. But once I started to conversate with them, they were like, "Oh, uh, you're not like other young guys. You are wise beyond your years. You are an old soul. I remember a lot of people using that term to describe me when they actually got to know a little bit about me. You are an old soul. And it's because I don't see age, I don't see race, ethnicity, nationality, um, sexuality. I don't see gender. I don't see anything. We live in a spectrum and we have to accept it. We have to fully embrace it. And well, yeah. Um, when you segregate your own community, there's a big problem. But I'm gonna let you guys go and we'll talk soon. Thank you for joining me as always. And remember, we live in a spectrum. Bye.